the question I want to answer is, how did green buildings become a trend? And I'm interested in this question because going green has been a very popular subject for the past years, and I wanted to know where it originated from. And so I focused on worldwide views on green buildings, and for my little review, green building, the definition is anything to do with green roofs, buildings with environmental friendly materials. The types of literature that I looked at were architect books, papers written by engineers, and reports written by firms. And the themes that I found was that it improved health, it increased community bonding, and it improved the economy. And one of the interesting things that I found was, as we all know, Hong Kong has developed economically at a rapid pace for the past 50 years. And they've been building a lot of skyscrapers, but they haven't really focused a lot on being sustainable. And recently I found like a paper where they're actually starting to think of implementing green roofs, and it helps them economically since some people aren't able to buy produce, and so they'll be able to plant their own produce there and also help clean up their air. And moving on from that, I'm going to be looking for more papers that will be answering this question.
So, again, I'm Myra, and my topic for my literature review are green buildings sustainable. Green buildings, they're a new building type, and they're becoming popular, like you said. And I just, it's really important to me because of my major. I am in architecture, in the architecture program at City College, and we're recently starting to learn about sustainability and how, because 90% of the carbon in the environment is because of buildings. So we play a really big role in this, and we kind of have to change that. So I want to learn how this could possibly happen. Right now, they're pretty much all experiments, and I started to look at what the definition of a green building really is. I started with architecture papers, and they all kind of just had a different stance on what it was, and then I started to look at marketing papers and economy papers, just from different backgrounds. And what I put together was that a green building or sustainable building has different components to it. It has to be financially feasible. It has to be good for the environment. It has to the design has to be can't think of a better word for that right now. But so right now, after I made that definition, I'm starting to look at case studies of different buildings in urban environments. I'm looking right now in Chicago and New York City and London. And so major themes that I found that went across all the papers or all the literature that I've been reading is that so far no one's really been able to create a truly sustainable building, and that so the architecture big heads people, they made the LEED, the LEED, which is Leadership in Energy Environmental Design, and that kind of sets the rules for if a building's sustainable or not. But recently I've read about a lot of criticism on this because buildings are really different, and they also have to be socially sustainable. You can't just put an office building just because you want to. Your community really needs it, and that's why you would put it. So it doesn't really consider those factors. And then, so for now, I'm just going to start working on my case studies. That's about it.
Okay. Well, I initially wanted to look at how animals that we consider pests, so roaches, rats, raccoons, mice, pigeons, etc., how they actually contribute to our ecology, ecosystem, and our environment. However, a problem that I ran into is that there isn't really a lot of literature that actually acknowledge the role that they play in the environment. So through research, I learned more about why we actually hate them rather than why we could use them or why they could, do work within our environment. And I found that none of the articles even addressed, the obvious, like, roaches are at the bottom of the food chain, or, rats play some type of part in kind of keeping things in balance. And also all of the literature, addressed ideas that are relevant to human life and human experience. So, in refocusing my topic question, I came to, okay, so how are animals problematized? Or how are animals created? And in that, I wanted to kind of think about the social construction of why animals are pests, but also the biological contributions they make. So, for example, like we talked about homogenation, which I'll address later. So I also, in answering my first question, I'll also answer why are they considered problem animals? And also I was thinking of touching on the potential outcomes of over-extermination, if I can find literature on that. I haven't maybe looked into it yet. So as far as research goes, I found a lot of information about species homogenization. So homogenization is basically when you think of urbanized area, usually urban adaptable species are the ones that survive, and kind of like other species that might be more specialized. Urban adaptable species are the ones that you'll find all across the world, so they can actually live in places such as like soil that's contaminated by heavy metals, such as in New York City. So in a cool article that I read called "How Pigeons Became Rats," I learned a lot about the historical relationship between the once valued species and New Yorkers. And the author did a really great job of connecting the problematization of pigeons to a larger system, which was a part of like the cultural project of New Yorkers. So brock-duck pigeons soon became depreciated. I mean, I'm sure you guys know that they were once used for game. So the reason for existence began to be questioned by people. They were no longer needed for game as New York became more industrialized. And their natural behaviors easily became really like a nuisance. As far as you guys know, they're everywhere and make a lot of noise. So as freeloaders, poachers, squatters, and bums by nature, with reproductive success comparable to vermin species like rodents, it only made more sense for people to kind of think, why not just eradicate them? So as I continue to do research, I hope to find more literature that addresses all of the questions I mentioned, and I hope to find more on the human-animal experience or the human-animal conflict, and get a better assessment of the roles played by different animal species outside of the ecosystem services provided for human beings. So in terms of our applied project, Grace will introduce it.
So our applied project is Help IOB, also stand for In Our Backyard, which is a nonprofit organization that first started in New York, and they're founded by 3 friends from Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies. Founders are Erin, Cassie Flynn, and our leader-in-resident, Brandon Woodley. And they came together in New York and found that people were talking about environmental projects, but no one was actually taking initiative on it. And so they created a website, and people can come and post their projects online, and people in IOB help them by creating a platform and helping them find ways of funding their projects and basically get that started. And this IOB has now been moved on to nationwide projects. I don't know.
So the idea of pursuing projects is that we connected people or individuals to community-led, neighborhood-funded environmental projects, and they use the concept of crowd resourcing, which combines crowdfunding and resource organizing. And it's basically fundraising by asking people that care about the environmental movement as well as people that we're serving. So usually the communities in the neighborhood. So projects are funded by people that care about the environment in neighborhoods, and it allows people to make donations to make a bigger impact. An example of a project that I thought was really cool was it was a chicken coop in the Bronx, I believe, and basically a lot of people came together and they raised money on the IOB website, and they had a chicken coop in their neighborhood where people that cared for the chicken coop or the people that kind of got they got eggs, and so it was cooperation between neighborhoods, but also it's like a little bit more sustainable rather than getting eggs from the grocery store, probably shipped from somewhere far, far away. So, yeah.
So, as Grace mentioned before, IOB is a nonprofit, and it has to get funding somehow, but before it can get funding, it has to almost create a report card of all its work that it has done, so the funders think it's like legitimate and that we should get funded for all of this. So, this is where we come into play, and we are actually going to be carrying out a survey for all of the past projects that IOB has done. Out of 400, we're doing a pilot of only 60 right now, and we're basically just going to call all these people up and ask them like how their project was. Was it like, besides the fact that they raised money and all that, was it like helpful for the environment, which is IOB's goal? So the timeline that we're kind of looking at right now is we're going to start this next semester in the spring, and all of our spring semester will be dedicated just to our applied project.
Any questions? Thanks, guys.